How could this happen? Why? 4 days after my beloved daughter left for her honeymoon, I received the devastating news that she had been in an accident and lost her life. She had finally found a good person and was about to start a happy life. During the funeral, my son-in-law wept, saying he would never stop grieving. But something he said struck me as odd. Something's wrong. Could it be murder? A strange feeling of unease gripped me, and I began to investigate the truth behind the incident that took my daughter's life, not knowing that the truth would plunge me into despair. Since losing my husband in an accident when I was young, I had raised my only daughter, Emma, on my own. Emma was an honest, straightforward, and considerate child, and I was proud of her. We had our share of hardships, being a single-parent household, but when she introduced me to a man she wanted to marry, I was truly overjoyed. Emma's fiancé, Jason, was a serious civil servant. His parents had passed away, and he had no siblings. According to him, he was all alone in the world. When I first met him, I found him to be a well-mannered young man with a refreshing appearance, someone who seemed to have no flaws. What? You're not going to have a wedding? When my daughter told me this, she had a very downcast expression.
Jason said he doesn't like flashy things, and it's a waste of money. He thinks just getting registered is enough.
But didn't you say you wanted to wear a wedding dress? As a young woman, she naturally wanted to wear a special outfit for such a once-in-a-lifetime event. But just when they were about to get married, she and Jason had a disagreement.
Jason says he wants to splurge on the honeymoon with the money we save. He really wants to travel abroad.
I understood. If they want to enjoy both a sizable wedding and a trip abroad, the costs would certainly add up. But still, not listening to any of my daughter's wishes seemed unreasonable. They could have compromised, like choosing a domestic trip or finding a budget-friendly option for the international trip. The fact that Jason seemed to disregard Emma's feelings made me uneasy. Still, I didn't want to strain their relationship. With that in mind, I decided to invite them over to my house. Emma, do you mind if I try to persuade Jason? I asked her, and then spoke directly with my son-in-law. Jason, think of this as just a mother's selfish desire to see her daughter's special day. Could you have a wedding ceremony, even if it's just for photos?
Well, I still want to make our honeymoon something special.
As someone without parents, he might not have appreciated me, as the mother-in-law, taking Emma's side. But they say that dissatisfaction with a wedding or childbirth can linger for a lifetime. I didn't think it was wrong to express a bit of parental love by trying to fulfill my daughter's wishes. I approached the conversation carefully, not wanting to upset him. I'll cover all the costs for the wedding photos. Consider it a wedding gift. Would that be all right?
What? Really? Thank you so much. I'm also happy to see Emma in a beautiful dress.
The moment I offered to pay, Jason's initially dubious expression brightened considerably, and I couldn't help but smile wryly. Is he just practical? Or maybe a bit stingy? Despite my growing concerns about the future, the photo-only wedding was set. Emma got to wear 3 dresses she liked. Once they got started, Jason seemed to get into it as well, not minding the costume changes or different locations. In the end, it became a good memory for both of them, and I was glad I persuaded him. The day after, we took lots of great photos and had a small dinner party. My daughter and her husband left for their honeymoon in Australia.
I'll bring back lots of souvenirs.
Those were the last words I ever heard from her. What? What did you say? I received a sudden call from someone claiming to be with the local police, but their heavily accented English made me think it was a prank call. However, the person on the other end quickly passed the phone to someone else, who spoke fluent English and clearly informed me.
Your daughter has died.
It was 4 days after Emma and Jason had left. They told me that my daughter drowned while diving. Apparently, she had twisted her ankle while sightseeing the day before they were supposed to dive. Despite that, she insisted on going into the water because she was looking forward to it. I think, at some point, the call transitioned from the police to my son-in-law, but to be honest, I don't remember much from that moment. By the time I came to my senses, Jason had returned home. My daughter's body had been brought to the funeral home, and I was holding Emma's memorial portrait. Wearing mourning clothes, I found myself bowing and receiving condolences from one mourner after another. It was only then that I started to fully grasp what was happening right in front of me. Perhaps because I was in such a state, or maybe he felt the same, Jason hardly spoke to me until the day of the funeral.
My sincere thanks to everyone for attending my wife Emma's funeral today.
My son-in-law said, delivering the eulogy. His voice was flat, almost mechanical. But as he began recounting the events leading up to my daughter's death, his voice started to tremble. Eventually, he broke down, sobbing and struggling to finish his sentences. They were supposed to start a happy life together. And now this. No one could have expected such a tragedy. Of course, it's understandable that he would react that way. But... wait. At first, his speech seemed like the usual funeral remarks. Yet, something felt off to me. Later, as I spoke with some of Emma's friends who had attended the service, I noticed even more strange details. Friends were saying things like,
I didn't know Emma was married. It's my first time seeing her husband.
To my surprise, it turned out that Emma and Jason hadn't told anyone about their marriage, and they didn't share any mutual friends. Maybe they planned to announce it once the photos were ready? But is it really possible that no one knows Jason? There was a fair number of mourners at the funeral, but none seemed to be from Jason's side. Was that normal? Something didn't sit right with me. I felt that the only way to resolve my growing doubts was to speak directly with Jason. But before I could do so, the situation took a drastic turn due to a statement made by one of the funeral attendees. It was 2 weeks later when I finally contacted my son-in-law. By then, he must have been overwhelmed with sorting through Emma's belongings and dealing with insurance paperwork. I still have some of Emma's insurance documents here. I'm sorry, but could you come by to pick them up? As soon as I said that, he came rushing over.
Hello. Where are the papers?
He started to ask, but before he could finish, a large fist slammed into his face. Jason's body lifted slightly off the ground before crashing back down onto the floor.
What? What? What?
He clutched his face, utterly confused. No wonder. He hadn't seen this coming.
Finally, We found you, you idiot brother!
You tricked my aunt and cousin. How dare you?
Waiting in the room with me were my niece Amy, who had traveled from afar, and Jason's older brother, John. So this is what was going on. I was right to trust my instincts back then.
What? What's happening? Why is my brother here?
Jason stammered, still dazed. The unease I had felt during Jason's eulogy at the funeral was now clear. On that day, through his tears, Jason had told the mourners that his wife had attempted to climb Ayers Rock the day before the diving trip. He explained that she had slipped and twisted her ankle, which caused her to drown because she couldn't swim properly. But that story doesn't add up. I said.
Why are you bringing this up now? And why is my brother here?
You lied to me. Emma would never climb Ayers Rock. I stepped closer to Jason, who was still sprawled on the floor, glaring at him. She was terrified of heights, ever since she slipped and fell off a cliff during a hiking trip years ago. Emma was so afraid of heights that she wouldn't even step onto the second-floor balcony at home. There's no way she would willingly climb a rocky mountain.
She only did it because I begged her. I knew the climb was going to be banned soon, and I really wanted to do it. She agreed, but that's why she...
Jason trailed off, trying to sound remorseful. His face showed a pained expression as if he was burdened by guilt, but I wasn't buying it. Even if that were true, no husband in his right mind would let her go diving after she twisted her ankle. My daughter had been a seasoned diver, well aware of the dangers of diving in poor physical condition. She wasn't foolish enough to take such a risk just because she was excited about it. And I don't trust you anymore, not after learning that I don't even know who you really are.
Well, that's... I mean...
Before he could stammer out more excuses, John grabbed him by the collar and forced him into a kneeling position.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
Jason cried, trembling and sobbing from the earlier punch. John was an imposing man, nearly 190 centimeters tall, with the build of someone who teaches martial arts. It's no wonder Jason was shaking. Anyone would be terrified to face him in a rage. But I didn't feel any sympathy for him.
You're still up to your old tricks, huh? When did you become Jason? Your name is Jake.
John shouted. So that's your real name? Who are you, really? Why did you deceive me and my daughter with a fake name? Explain yourself. Jason, or rather, Jake, avoided my gaze and refused to answer. Everything about him was a lie. His job, his claim of having no family, it was all fabricated. In reality, his parents were alive, and he had not one but two brothers. If you won't talk, then I will. I know exactly what you've been doing.
No.
You've been running marriage scams all over the country, haven't you? I heard you even served time in prison for it. According to John, Jake had been under the watchful eye of his family after being released from prison. For a while, he behaved himself, staying at home with his parents and brothers. But one day, he vanished without a trace when they let their guard down. I still can't believe it. To think I was living so close to such a criminal without realizing it. But thanks to Amy, we uncovered the truth. The truth about him came to light when my niece said,
I think I've seen this guy in a photo my senior showed me.
My niece attended a university far from home and ended up getting a job in the same area.
Your brother was an older member of the club I joined. I knew I'd seen your face somewhere before, and then I remembered it was in a family photo he showed me.
When my son-in-law heard this, his eyes widened in shock. He never could have imagined that there would be a connection between his family and someone in mine.
Since the name was completely different, I thought it was just a coincidence. But I never expected him to be involved in something so dangerous.
Nancy, Amy, I can't apologize enough.
John said, bowing his head deeply, clearly filled with remorse.
This guy has always been like this, ever since he was a kid, scheming and conning people out of money. I thought he might have changed after going to prison, but to think he'd do something like this to someone's daughter.
Wait! What happened to Emma was an accident. I didn't do anything.
Suddenly panicked, Jake interrupted. Oh. You sound as if someone had murdered my daughter. When I pointed this out, Jake's face immediately showed a look of regret, as if realizing he had made a mistake. Maybe the shock of being hit had made it harder for him to keep his lies straight. Of course, I made sure to investigate thoroughly. I worked with my niece, who's excellent at communication, to speak with local police officers and tour guides in Australia. Together, we uncovered the truth about what happened to my daughter. Emma hadn't injured her foot, and the real cause of her drowning was equipment failure, a leak in her air tank. After an instructor's inspection, the valve had somehow loosened, causing air to escape and leading to oxygen deprivation. They checked the facility's cameras, and they clearly show you touching Emma's tank right before the dive.
Cameras! No one told me anything about cameras.
And you know, they can still lift fingerprints even after an object has been submerged in seawater using special chemicals. When I emphasized that we had the evidence, Jason broke down crying again.
When I was fresh out of college, I had issues with some women at my job, and I stopped being able to trust them.
Then, as if trying to evoke my sympathy, he suddenly began to talk about himself. And he thought I'd change my opinion of him because of that?
But I never intended to harm Emma. I just wanted her to get hurt a little so I could claim compensation or some kind of injury benefits.
So you were trying to scam the money, huh? You really are scum.
John said with a sigh.
And cut out the pathetic fake crying.
He added.
The trouble at your old job was your fault, wasn't it? You were so harsh and overbearing with the female employees that they quit, and that's why you got kicked out.
I had already heard from his brother about how Jake had caused problems at a company he had reluctantly joined at his parents' urging, eventually getting fired. The story about being a civil servant was, of course, a lie too. He had been scraping by, living off the money he'd conned out of people.
You've always been like this, a liar and a cheat, never living a decent life.
John continued.
Shut up! You're all just nagging at me from the sidelines. What the hell is wrong with you people?
Realizing that everyone around him was against him, Jake stopped crying and started to get angry. What's wrong? That's exactly what I want to know.
I'm not like your dad. I'm special, one of the chosen ones. I'm not cut out for working hard and sweating for a living.
The absurdity of what he was saying left both John, Amy, and me at a loss for words.
What's so wrong about wanting to make easy money?
Jake continued. Is that all you have to say? I asked, glaring at him with a face full of anger. I didn't want to hear any more of his outrageous reasoning, but Jake was completely unfazed.
I'm still her husband. I'm not agreeing to any divorce or termination of our marriage. The life insurance and survivor's pension are all mine. It's your daughter's fault for being gullible.
His sinister smile made him look like nothing short of a scoundrel. Insurance money, huh? Well, all of that has already been taken care of.
What?
She never changed the beneficiary of her life insurance from before the marriage. And since you two didn't have any children, you're not eligible for the survivor's pension. As I calmly explained this, he was once again left speechless. Oh, did I forget to mention? I'm an active insurance agent. She came to me right before the trip, wanting to review her insurance. After helping her revise the beneficiary and coverage, I sent the two of them off on their trip, saying I'd handle the paperwork later. But just as I was about to finalize everything, the police contacted me, and I hadn't completed the process. Were you in such a rush for the money? But if you were planning to cash in on insurance, you should have at least checked who the beneficiary was before carrying out your plan. I didn't want to understand the mind of the person who took my daughter's life, but even from an outsider's perspective, it was a foolish and sloppy scheme. The insurance payout has already been deposited into my account.
Damn it! This is your fault for dragging out the paperwork. Hand it over! It's mine!
As he tried to approach me, demanding the money, John stepped in to hold him back. But at that moment, I reached my limit. My body moved on its own as I went to the bedroom, grabbed a bag containing bank card and credit cards, and hurled it at Jake's already bruised face.
Oof! Ouch!
The blow must have been excruciating, especially since it hit the already swollen area. But my daughter's pain and suffering were far worse. If you want it, take it, I said, my voice shockingly calm. Though I couldn't see myself, I imagined my face must have looked like a mask, devoid of any emotion. I don't need the insurance money or anything else. Just give her back to me. I slowly approached him, enunciating each word. Give me back my daughter. I could hear him swallow nervously. I've recorded your confession and called the police. You're heading back behind bars.
You, damn it! You'll pay for this. Remember this. You won't get away with it. When I get out, I'll do it again. I'll send you to the same place as her.
He was screaming and cursing, but John had a firm grip on his arms, so he couldn't move. Oh, I'm terrified. But you'd better remember this, I said.
What?
This might be the first time you've taken a life, but next time, it'll be national news. The families of all your previous victims will know about you. Outside, the flashing lights of the police cars were already visible. I'll never forget you. You'll be in my thoughts forever. And the people you've deceived and tormented, each one of them will remember you too.
What? What are you talking about?
I'll be satisfied when you receive your legal punishment. But what about the others? I wonder how many people bear a grudge against you. Even after all this, Jake still didn't seem to get it. Not everyone seeks revenge through proper channels. Whoever is waiting for you, be prepared to face it. Amy let the police officers in as I spoke. When your name, face, crimes, and sentence are all publicized upon your release, who knows what will be waiting for you? I saw the color drain from Jake's face as he finally grasped the meaning of my words. Perhaps, at that moment, he started to count the sins he'd committed. John held onto Jake's arm until the very end, and my son-in-law made no attempt to escape as the police dragged him away. Perhaps the fear of what awaited him had drained him of any will to resist. In the end, Jake was arrested, and his face and real name were broadcast nationwide as his crimes were exposed to the public. With countless additional charges piling up, he won't be out from behind bars for at least the next 10 years. Even if he does get out, he'll be greeted with hefty lawsuits and a lonely life ahead. It seems his habit of lying and playing the victim hasn't changed in prison, leaving him isolated and distrusted by everyone. To this day, my daughter's former friends still visit my home daily, bringing flowers. Through these connections, I've made new friends, and their presence inspires me to live on strongly, carrying my daughter's memory with me. So, what did you think of this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.